Crafting in PoE2 might be quietly designed to reward the rich and punish everyone else. That's not my take. That's a claim that showed up over and over independently across hundreds of comments on my burnout video. Today, I'm gonna test it. Is Path of Exile 2's crafting system secretly designed for the rich? Real math, real disagreement from you guys, and a real answer by the end. And for anyone who wants to call this clickbait, this channel's built on real analysis from real players and real opinions, not just chasing a headline. Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Sammy. Let's get to it. Okay, so here's what kept showing up in my comments section on that video I referred to, said in different ways by a ton of different people. Crafting feels like real gambling if you're poor, and it feels close to a sure thing if you're rich. Same logic over and over in all these comments I got. One viewer put it very plainly: not burning through currency is effectively the same as not having it. Another said crafting is only for the already wealthy or the super knowledgeable. A third laid out the mechanism. If you have the currency to roll a craft a dozen of times, your odds of eventually hitting it get really high. But if you can only afford one shot, you're just gambling. This wasn't one angry comment. This was a pattern in all the comments in that video. So let's test the math and see if this actually backs this claim up. Here's the real mechanic underneath all of this, and I want to be upfront. This is just basic math based on probability. These numbers are just hypotheticals. We don't have GGG's real crafting numbers for every time. So the exact odds in the game will vary craft to craft. This is just to give you an idea of how it works from a math perspective, not a claim about any specific real craft. Say a specific craft has a 5% chance to hit exactly what you want. If you can only afford one attempt, you have a 5% chance. Follow so far? But if you can afford 50 attempts, your odds of hitting it at least once climb to over 92%. Here's the math. Same item, same currency type, completely different reality depending on your bankroll. So the claim checks out with the math, with one important correction. Nothing in Path of Exile 2 crafting is ever guaranteed. It's never fully deterministic. But you guys already know that. There's always RNG in there. What wealth buys you isn't a guarantee. It's more shots at the same odds, which pushes your realistic chances way up without ever hitting 100%. Wealth doesn't just help you craft better gear. It changes the entire nature of what crafting is even for you. High probability for one player, a real gamble for another. Just never certain for anyone. Now, I already know what a bunch of you are going to say here, and it's a fair point, so let's just get it out of the way right now. I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, a lot of these rich players earned that wealth with real knowledge, with good builds, with a ton of hours of farming. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of skill. And nobody's saying that doesn't deserve a reward, but that's a separate question from what this video is about. This isn't asking whether rich players deserve what they have. It's asking whether the crafting system itself treats a currency-rich player and a currency-poor player the same way. And let's be honest, it doesn't. Someone can fully understand crafting theory, know exactly what they're doing, and still get locked out simply because they can't afford enough attempts. That's not a skill gap, that's a bankroll gap. Both things can be true at once, wealth being earned and the system still behaving completely different depending on how much of it you're sitting on. Now here's the part where you guys actually disagreed. Whether failing a craft teaches you anything at all. One side said yes, trial and error is how you learn the system. You get better each time you try. The other side pushed hard on that, arguing you don't learn anything from a failed craft. You just learn you weren't lucky that time. Since the outcome was always possible, you simply just didn't roll it. There's another angle worth adding here too. Being rich doesn't solve everything. It just buys you more attempts. Say it takes you 20 tries to finally hit every mod you wanted on a piece. You've got the currency to do that, no problem. But if all those attempts combined cost more than what the finished item sells for on the market, was that really a successful craft? You got the item, sure, but you might have been better off just buying it outright. Being wealthy removes the "can I even try" problem. It doesn't automatically remove "was this worth it" problem. The comments weren't just complaints either. A bunch of you laid out some really specific fixes. The most common one, raised the minimum guaranteed roll on crafting currencies. So a bad outcome isn't a total waste, just a worse one. One comment went further and proposed a full tiered system. Regular currency gets a lower guaranteed floor, but a wider mod pool. Greater and perfect currency tightens the pool, but raises the floor. A few of you also flagged a real access problem underneath all of this. The actual tools you need to safely experiment are locked behind content most casual players never touch. The strong crafting omens specifically come from ritual, which is hard content for some players and builds. So if you're not already deep into that mechanic, you don't just lack the currency to gamble, you can't even get your hands on the tools in the first place. And more than one of you asked for something like a real practice mode, a sandbox where you could test a craft without burning actual currency, just to build the knowledge safely before even risking a real attempt. And I'll repeat it here, exactly what I said in the comments section. There are already third-party websites that do this exact thing. If you're not aware of it, I suggest you visit Path of Exile for Path of Exile 2. You can emulate and simulate to your heart's desire as much as you want without spending one exalt. I highly recommend you check it out if you're not aware of this. So let's take this further, because there's a real question sitting underneath all of it. If someone genuinely can't earn currency for extra tries, what's GGG supposed to do about that? And should they do anything at all? Here's what a real fix could look like. Bad luck protection is the most proven option out there. Your odds climb the more times you fail. So even someone stuck at one attempt at a time is inching closer instead of staying flat at the same low percentage forever. Combine that with a guaranteed floor idea from earlier, and a failed craft stops being a full loss no matter your budget. Expanding deterministic crafting paths help too. More guaranteed, no RNG routes to a solid item, so currency poor players have a reliable way to get something usable, even if it's never the perfect roll. But here's the tension, and it's worth highlighting big time. Trade economies in games like this have pretty much always run on time and wealth compounding into a real advantage. That might be part of the design, not a flaw. If GGG fully evened out crafting odds no matter what you're sitting on, currency stops meaning much of anything. And for a lot of players, chasing that wealth is half the appeal to them for the game to begin with. So this isn't really should GGG fix it, it's does PoE2 want to keep being a game where being rich is a real structural edge? All right, I'm gonna step out of neutral mode for a second here. This next part is my own personal opinion. This is not part of the discussion video anymore. I side with GGG's philosophy on this one. If you put in the time, you should be rewarded for it. And yeah, you should get to reap what that time and effort earns you. Now, here's where this whole thing gets worse, not better. And it's specific to SSF mode. I don't want to leave out the players that play SSF. If you're playing trade, a bad craft still stings, but you can always just buy your way out of it. List what you have, pick up something finished instead. SSF players don't get that option at all. Multiple SSF comments made the exact point in different words. If you craft bricks in SSF, that's it. There's no market to bail you out. You either have the materials for another attempt or you don't. One player described saving rare crafting mats for weeks, waiting for the exact right base, then finally committing. Essentially the same math we just walked through, just with zero safety net attached to it. So the wealth gap isn't just rich versus poor within trade. It's really trade versus SSF layered on top of rich versus poor. And SSF players sit at the sharpest end of both. But let's be honest, guys, most players that opt to play SSF mode already know this and welcome the challenge, in my opinion. So what does this actually mean for you, grounded in the actual math we talked about earlier? If you're currency poor right now, experimenting on crafts generally is riskier for you, specifically than it is for a wealthy player. That's not you playing wrong, that's just correct math for your bankroll. Leaning toward buying finished items or following fully deterministic crafts instead of RNG heavy ones isn't giving up. It's the smarter move at your specific currency level. Save the real gambling for when you've got enough banked that one bad roll doesn't set you back. So there's the actual answer, in my opinion, to is Path of Exile 2's crafting system secretly designed for the rich? Straight from the math and straight from your comments. Crafting really does behave differently depending on how much currency you're sitting on. And let's just leave it at that. Did I miss an angle on this? Or you still think there's more to it? Well, am I out to left field? I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me know. And like always, if there's anything else going on in Path of Exile 2 you want me digging into, drop it below. I read every single comment. All right, everybody, that's it for today. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Hit that like button too if you got something out of this. And please follow me on Twitch so you know when I go live. Links, as always, are in the description. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. Hope to see you on the next one. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.